Welcome to the TheRavensBrew. I'm Summer and that's Molly. Today we're carving into a Thanksgiving weekend that began in celebration and ended in horror. What started as a family gathering turned into a sinister scene that left a community in disbelief and investigators digging through all the leftovers. Stick with us as we simmer down the story and serve up a dark truth no one saw brewing.
Hey y'all, we've been cooking up a Thanksgiving murder that would truly horrify you. And we think you're going to gobble this one up.
If you're feasting on true crime like it's a Thanksgiving dinner, you might need more than just a dessert to recover from this.
This case is one for the books. Joel and Lisa, on the brink of retirement, looked forward to a final holiday with their grown children in the family home. But instead of celebration, a shocking nightmare unfolded. Prepare yourself as we turn up the heat and serve you the grisly details that's more bitter than sweet.
Born and raised in East Tennessee, Joel Sr. worked as a pipeline engineering designer for over 30 years. He was described by friends and family as quiet, hardworking, and family-oriented, enjoying the simple pleasures of life, like spending time with his wife and family. Lisa was born in Kingsport, Tennessee, and worked as an accounts payable administrator at an engineering company. Lisa was known for being loving and devoted mother and wife. Her cheerful personality and care for her family made her well-liked by friends and colleagues. Joel Sr. had 3 adult daughters from a previous marriage, Michelle Tyler, Angela Crane, and Candace Fink. And then Lisa and Joel had a son, Joel Jr. He was their only child together. Born in 1988, Joel Guy Jr. grew up in Tennessee, but later moved to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where he had been attending Louisiana State University on and off for over a decade. He was known to be reclusive and had limited social interaction outside of his immediate family. He had no steady job or source of income, and by all accounts, he lived a largely isolated life in his apartment in Baton Rouge. Friends and family later described him as withdrawn and emotionally detached. Joel Jr. and his sisters gathered with their parents, Joel and Lisa, on Thanksgiving 2016. Joel Jr. had arrived a few days early because he was driving in from Baton Rouge, and the rest of his family came on Thursday. Joel and Lisa were excited to have their last holiday in the family home before they moved. They had their home up for sale and were moving to Joel Sr.'s mother's home in Sturgoinsville, Tennessee, where they would spend the rest of their retirement in the mountains, 90 miles away. The guys just spent weeks preparing for their move, and the holiday was seen as a break from their packing and planning. Lisa was reportedly upbeat and happy during the days leading up to Thanksgiving.
Lisa was last seen alive on Saturday, November 26th, when she went on a routine shopping trip to a local Walmart. Security camera footage captured Lisa purchasing groceries and other household items. Monday, November 28th, Lisa failed to show up for work. Her co-workers grew concerned.
Communication. Yes, I have an employee that has not reported for work today, and highly unlike her.
Joel Sr.'s older children also worried as they did not hear from him either. The neighbors also commented on how quiet the house had been that weekend, which was abnormal. Knox County officers Jeremy McCord and Stephen Ballard were dispatched to the guy's home on Golden View Lane in the upscale neighborhood of West Knoxville. Upon arrival, they noticed that both Joel Sr.'s and Lisa's cars were in the driveway, but the house appeared to be eerily quiet. The officers thought it was strange that the house was for sale but had no real estate lock on the front door. Looking inside, they could see groceries such as ice cream, sausage, and bacon sitting on the floor in the foyer. The police noticed the back doorknob had been removed and placed on the front door. They could also feel heat coming from the house and could smell a strong chemical odor. An officer opened one of the guy's cars in the driveway and pressed the garage door opener, giving them access to the home.
The officers discovered that the thermostat of the home was set to 90 degrees. And while walking through the kitchen from the garage, they noticed that a large pot was sitting on the stove, simmering. They found both Joel and Lisa's wallets along with a sledgehammer on a table, and then on another table, they found guns, like all over it. The officers quickly noticed signs of a violent struggle. Blood spatter and stains were found on the walls and floors. The further they ventured into the house, the more horrifying the discoveries became. Blood trailed through the house, leading them to the upstairs rooms. Investigators arrived on the second floor crime scene and found Lisa's clothing, which had been cut off of her. They also found sewer line cleaner, baking soda, liquid fire drain cleaner, lye, hydrogen peroxide, muriatic acid, bleach, and a bleach sprayer. Nearby sat a suitcase that had a note in it with the name of an Ace Hardware store and a notation about sewer line cleaner. The home was so hazardous that the investigators had to wear hazmat suits to process the crime scene. An officer at the scene described it as the most horrific thing he's ever encountered in law enforcement and in life. It's in the 1 percentile of homicides in the United States that involve mutilation or dismemberment. It's not something we run across, Major Michael McLean of the Knox County Sheriff's Office told the Washington Post. Usually, there's a motivation behind it. In this case, we just don't know what it is.
As officers continued their search, they found the dismembered remains of both Joel Sr. and Lisa Guy. Their bodies had been cut apart with knives and other sharp instruments. Large plastic storage bins were found in an upstairs bathroom. Inside, police discovered parts of Joel Sr. and Lisa's bodies submerged in a corrosive chemical solution, which included drain cleaner and bleach. Joel Sr. had been stabbed approximately 42 times, with many of the wounds concentrated in his torso. His hands were nearly severed in what appeared to be defensive wounds. Lisa had been stabbed multiple times before being decapitated. Her limbs had also been severed and placed in the same chemical solution. Detectives and forensic specialists were called to the scene to begin the careful task of documenting the crime scene and collecting evidence. The house was sealed off, and investigators began taking photographs, collecting samples, and documenting the position of the bodies and evidence of the attack. Investigators found tools scattered throughout the home, including knives, saws, and other implements used in the dismemberment. The tools were covered in blood and tissue. Eek. The forensic team also collected samples of the chemical solution in which the body parts had been submerged. It was determined that the chemicals included drain cleaner, bleach, and hydrogen peroxide. The killer's attempt to use chemicals to decompose the bodies. Blood spatter analysis indicated that Joel Sr. had been attacked first, while Lisa was out of the house on her shopping trip. Lisa had been attacked upon her return home. Her body did not show any defensive wounds. Both victims had suffered extensive injuries. Joel Sr.'s stab wounds were concentrated in his torso and upper body, consistent with a frenzied attack. His hands and arms bore defensive wounds, indicating that he had fought his attacker. Lisa's wounds were just as gruesome, but the severing of her head and limbs showed a level of brutality that shocked even seasoned investigators. The use of the pot to boil her head, an almost ritualistic element to the crime, suggesting that the perpetrator sought to completely destroy their remains. So, Summer, you hungry for Thanksgiving now?
No.
I shouldn't laugh, but could you imagine lifting the lid to that pot?
No.
And just seeing what if it was faced just right where her face was looking directly back at you? I would have nightmares. Nightmares about that.
They probably do have nightmares. They probably do have PTSD about this.
I would.
Me too.
This is beyond gruesome. We should have given them like a heads up. Don't be eating while watching this episode.
Oh yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, don't do
A
that.
little late now, I guess.
Oops. Oopsies.
My grandma was asking me today if I was serving turkey.
And you are, but not like this.
I don't know where I was going with that, but I mean, I guess it could be worse. Like, I don't know why she was asking me that. With both victims brutally murdered and no clear suspect in sight, law enforcement quickly mobilized to investigate who could have committed this crime. Investigators began questioning neighbors, family members, and anyone who had recent contact with Joel and Lisa, trying to piece together what had happened in the days following Thanksgiving. They initially had no clear suspect. The crime scene was methodically set up, which led them to believe that the perpetrator knew the victims. However, there were no signs of forced entry, which suggested that the victims had likely let their killer into the house. With these early hypotheses in mind, investigators began to scrutinize the personal lives of Joel Sr. and Lisa Guy, looking into their family dynamics, financial situation, and recent relationships for any potential motives.
So they're just going to be questioning everyone. Would you assume, like at that point?
I mean, I guess so, probably. They probably started with the kids first, I would imagine. You know, they just saw them for Thanksgiving.
And let me ask you another question, because this still does not make sense to me after researching this. Why was the back doorknob put on the front doorknob, do you think?
No idea.
Do you think it was like to prevent people from coming in, or like was it easier to go in and out? Like the perpetrator obviously thought everything through. So there was a clear-cut reason for this, but there's no explanation anywhere to be found.
I have no idea why he would do that. It's weird. Because regardless if you put it on backwards or not, you can still open it.
I would assume. Maybe they didn't have a key to the back door, and that's why. So if somebody was coming and they tried to put the key in, they couldn't get it in?
Maybe, I don't know.
That would be my best guess. Anyways, as officers uncovered the horrific crime scene, the question remained, who could be responsible? Was it a random strike? Or was someone closer to home stirring the pot? Stick around. Things are about to get even more disturbing. Dun, dun, dun.
Fingerprint and DNA analysis were also performed throughout the house. Investigators found traces of blood, not just from the victims, but also possible DNA from the perpetrator, providing valuable leads. Investigator found multiple receipts for tools and chemicals that had been recently purchased. Additional items such as gloves, plastic sheeting, and garbage bags were found in the house, all of which had likely been used in the cleanup and disposal process. These materials were carefully bagged and sent to the lab for analysis. It was quickly uncovered that Joel and Lisa had been supporting Joel Jr. financially for years, paying for his rent, bills, and living expenses while he attended Louisiana State University. Further investigation revealed that Joel Sr. and Lisa had recently made the decision to cut off their financial support for their son following their retirement. Joel Jr. also stood to gain significantly from his parents' deaths. They uncovered multiple life insurance policies that named Joel Jr. as a beneficiary. These policies, along with the couple's assets, amounted to a substantial sum of money.
Okay, so his parents were paying for everything as he supposedly went to LSU for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many classes did this guy take? Like a half a class a semester? Like, or was he just failing out of them? Like, geez Louise, like, talk about gravy train. His parents definitely let him ride that. Get it? Gravy train.
Detectives found internet searches on Joel Jr.'s devices about how to dissolve human remains and how to use chemicals to speed up decomposition. The search revealed that Joel Jr. had been purchasing knives, saws, chemicals, and other materials. These purchases matched the tools and substances found at the crime scene. Surveillance footage from local stores, such as Walmart and Home Depot, showed Joel Jr. making these purchases. The videos provided investigators with a visual confirmation of Joel Jr.'s intent and planning. A critical piece of evidence was a notebook found in Joel Jr.'s room. It contained handwritten notes that outlined the step-by-step plan to murder his parents, dismember their bodies, and dispose of the remains. The note said, "Kill them with a knife, place her head in a pot, and boil it, and use drain cleaner to dissolve the body parts." The notebook even contained reminders about wearing gloves and disposing of his clothing. The notes contained cold, emotionless language referring to the murder and dismemberment as tasks to be completed rather than as acts of violence against his own parents.
So he made this whole book to talk about exactly what to do, but then got lazy at the end, left the book, left the cleanup supplies, left receipts. Like,
Didn't finish the job, didn't just dissolve their bodies. Like,
I think I remember reading on a website, and I didn't put this in there, so don't quote me, y'all, but I want to say that like he cut his hands. And that's kind of how, like, there was his blood DNA at the scene, and he wrapped it up as best he could. And he went back to LSU because he had like insurance there or something through the school, and he was gonna come back and clean up, but he never got the time to before the police arrived. But I think I saw that on just one website, but that would make sense as to why he left and hadn't cleaned everything up yet.
yeah, I guess so.
Now, detectives tracked Joel Jr. to his apartment in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He was arrested without incident just days after the bodies of his parents were discovered. Upon his arrest, Joel Jr. appeared calm and detached, showing little emotion as he was taken into custody. If that was me, I'd be stuffing my pants, if you know what I mean. Wouldn't you?
Because I was being arrested?
For the whole thing.
I mean, I couldn't do any of this. So
I mean, I couldn't either, but like, just
maybe if I could stab someone, I definitely couldn't do the rest. There's not a chance.
Could you stab someone 42 times?
What?
Oh my gosh, audience, that was a live pause. She really thought about the answer to this question.
Well, yeah, I don't think I could stab anyone at all, period. But I mean, I definitely could not boil someone's head. Like, that's... I would have stuffed my pants before this even began.
During his interrogation, Joel Jr. maintained a stoic demeanor and refused to answer many of the detectives' questions. He showed no remorse for the murders. Investigators noted that Joel Jr. seemed more concerned with his own situation than with the deaths of his parents, further showcasing his narcissistic and self-centered personality. Now, after his arrest in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Joel Guy Jr. was extradited back to Knoxville, Tennessee, where he faced multiple charges, including 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder for the killings of his parents, Joel Sr. and Lisa Guy, 2 counts of felony murder in the commission of the murders, 2 counts of abuse of a corpse due to the dismemberment and the use of chemicals to dissolve the remains, 1 count of felony theft, as investigators found that Joel Jr. had attempted to withdraw money from his parents' bank accounts after their deaths. At his arraignment, Joel Jr. pleaded not guilty to all charges. His trial began September 28th of 2020. And I honestly don't know what this guy was thinking because he left his notebook.
Yeah. Well, like you said, maybe he was planning on returning, because why else would he leave? Would he leave his notebook? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, he's
Sloppy,
stupid.
lazy,
Sloppy.
stupid.
Yeah.
Piece
I
of
mean, it had to be
shit.
a lot of work to like
Remember to grab
dismember.
your notebook. Oh yeah,
No,
he's probably tired.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't work. Like, he sits there and probably plays video games, and like his thumbs, you know, are really well worked, but like the rest of his body probably isn't. Like, that had to be like some real muscle. Like, I can't even think about it. Like,
yeah, that's bad. That's gross. All right. The prosecution's case against Joel Guy Jr. was overwhelming. The prosecution painted Joel Jr. as a cold, calculating killer who saw his parents as obstacles to his financial freedom. The centerpiece of the prosecution's case was Jr.'s notebook. Didn't think that through, did you, buddy?
go figure.
The prosecution presented digital evidence, including Joel Jr.'s internet search history and surveillance footage from Walmart and Home Depot. Surveillance showed Joel Jr. purchasing chemicals, knives, and other supplies used in the murders. The footage placed him at the scene before and after the crime. DNA analysis confirmed Joel Jr.'s presence at multiple points in the home, linking him directly to the crime. Fingerprints on the murder weapons, the chemical containers, and the plastic bins used to store the body parts were matched to Joel Jr.
So he didn't use the gloves when he really should have been. He bought them, but touched everything anyway.
So
and
it sounds like he bought the gloves to keep from getting icky.
From from like the chemicals, you know, like because they're so corrosive, you don't want to get them on your hands. Like, I get that, but like, dude, like, seriously, like,
this guy's
like, wipe these
smart.
things down. Now, I have a question for you. So, you know how everybody gets caught with their internet searches?
Mhm.
If they did an incognito search, would they still be able to find it?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Just for, you know, in case one day.
I think probably the only way that you wouldn't get caught is if you are using like a VPN or something. But I honestly don't even know if that's true.
You'd have to just destroy the device and get rid of it to make it not searchable.
Right. If you didn't want to get caught with internet searches, you would have to get rid of the device.
Get a prepaid phone, break it in half, stomp on it, send it through like a meat grinder. You'd be good. Oh, but don't take that as advice, because I'm not telling anyone how to do a correct murder. That's not on me.
Alrighty then. Joel Guy Jr.'s defense team tried to argue that their client was mentally unstable and incapable of fully understanding the consequences of his actions. The defense struggled to present compelling evidence of a mental health condition because he didn't have one. He was just a lazy
POS.
The defense team. I couldn't think of anything to say that wasn't a curse word. The defense team attempted to challenge the validity of the forensic evidence, arguing that the prosecution's case was circumstantial and based on assumptions. They tried to downplay the significance of the notebook, suggesting that it was a fantasy or a thought experiment rather than an actual plan for murder. The defense presented only a few witnesses. It did not call Joel Jr. to testify in his own defense.
I really wish they would have, because I just want to hear what would have come out of his mouth.
I agree with that, but typically they don't, testify.
No. They do have a show on, like, it's like the First 48, where like the person that is accused who says they're innocent goes on the stand. I don't know what it's called, but it's by the makers of First 48. It's pretty interesting. But my thought here is, if this was a thought experiment, how would they even explain that, because he did word for word what the murder was, unless he was like, well, he found them that way. And he just was so scared. He didn't call the cops, but he wrote it all down in case something got, messed with between the time he left and the cops showing up. But even then, like, that is so far-fetched that every single step.
Right.
And you just happen to be on security cameras, and you just happen to be searching chemicals. Like, dude,
right. There's too many dots connecting here for it to be.
It's an easy case to try. Like, that prosecutor was probably like, I got this in the bag.
Right. And the defense was just like grasping at straws. Like, they really had nothing, like a thought experiment. Like, I can understand it being a diary. Like, people write some crazy things in their diary because it's an outlet for them. But all the other pieces.
But even a diary, you still would not do a step by step outline of what exactly happened, down to putting his mother's head in a boiling pot.
Well, I agree with you, but there are some really messed up people out there that probably do put that kind of stuff in their journals.
I mean, I guess, like, maybe one of his sisters found it and wanted to pin it on him, and they're like, oh, we got him now.
I don't think so.
Anyways, on October 2nd, 2020, after several days of testimony and deliberation, the grand jury returned with a unanimous verdict. Joel Guy Jr. was found guilty on all charges. The jury's decision was swift, as the overwhelming evidence presented by the prosecution left little room for doubt. The judge sentenced Joel Guy Jr. to life in prison without the possibility of parole. I think that he's really lucky that he didn't get the chair, but maybe they don't do that in Tennessee, but I'm a Texan. Joel Sr.'s older children and Lisa's friends expressed profound grief and disbelief. While there had always been some distance between Joel Jr. and the rest of the family, no one could have imagined that he was capable of such violence. The community came together in mourning, holding vigils for Joel Sr. and Lisa, whose lives had been tragically cut short. The media quickly picked up on the story, reporting extensively on the gruesome nature of the murders and the disturbing details of the notebook and financial motives. This case gained national attention.
Yeah, it was pretty disturbing.
It's pretty sad. It's really
pretty sad and disturbing, and very sorry for Joel and Lisa Guy and their family.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you have it. A case that started with the promise of a Thanksgiving feast and ended with a recipe for horror. As we digested every grim detail, one thing became clear. Sometimes the darkest secrets simmer just beneath the surface, waiting to boil over. We hope this story serves as a reminder to keep a close eye on what's cooking within our own lives, because the ingredients for tragedy can sometimes be closer than we think.
Thanks for joining us at the TheRavensBrew. If this case left a bitter taste, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more, because we'll be stirring up plenty more chilling stories that are sure to leave you hungry for answers. And as always, stay curious and be mysterious. Bye.
Bye.